Good week for me. Just got back from badass couples vacation. It was awesome. Um, and so the one thing we want to do today is you guys already know this because I've talked about this numerous times. I want to talk about future pacing. So everybody knows what future pacing is, right? Get some nods on there. Can I get some? What is a future pacing? Somebody give me an example.
I do with the battery all the time. Like basically just like while in the home, just kind of like let them like visualize like where the battery is going to be going. We'll maybe go walk to their like garage and be like and like envision like where it's going to be, and as if it's like already installed.
Okay, it's good. Anybody else? Any other?
Lifestyle changes too. Like you like they're gonna like they can like active when you ask open ended questions about like what are you gonna be how are you gonna be using your power like differently. They're gonna be like, oh well, we're going to be doing this, that, this, and then. It's like, okay, sweet.
Okay, good. Anybody else besides Jeremy use it?
Good morning, Luke Ward, bro.
Wow. Trey, good morning, buddy.
Over here,
Trey's
dog.
like, ask anyone else have any answers? Trey's like, good morning. Trey, how
Uh,
do you use future pacing, bro? Tell us.
Huh?
we're doing how do you use future pacing?
So use like the data centers for an example. Like once they kick on, I kind of use like it's like taking a page out of California, what they've already been through, how nuclear's out, coal plants shut them down, data centers coming online, low supply, high demand. You've already seen what happened over there. It's the same thing coming here. A lot of people kind of see the same thing. Those are kind of like the analogies I use for that.
Good.
What about like, look, if you do like, imagine having control, putting thermostat where you want, predictability, quality of life.
That's good. That's a good word track that you elicited the future pacing response by leveraging the word. Those are all good. Those are all good examples. So here's the thing. Sometimes people aren't having current pain, so they're not having the same sort of pain that they're going to have in the future. And what do we know of what's going to happen with utility bills in the future?
They're going up.
Yes.
They're going to
So
increase.
we know that in the future the utility bills are going up. It's inevitable. We know that they're going to go up exponentially, especially when the tax credits end, and then there's less solar out there because people are not being able to purchase them and then be able to get a loan. The same sort of incentives and stuff that they used to have. But I'm gonna. Some people don't have paint, so you come to those people's bills and they're $150 a month, right? On average. Most people here in Arizona are not feeling the pain with a $150 average. The large majority, unless you're a little old lady on a very fixed income, you're not feeling that sort of pain. The other pain that people are not experiencing is the pain of power outages. This is incredibly challenging, especially in areas where they're prone to power outages. Now, here in Arizona, this is the most reliable grid in the country, up until they get rid of all of our reliable power sources, and we're left with unreliable power sources and a grid that's almost broken because of the data centers and stuff that are going online. So if we come to these people and we're asking them whether you're at the door or at the kitchen table and you're probing and you're asking them what's your bill and we see if they have any pain, what we want to do is put them in a future state and imagine having that pain. So sometimes people aren't going to have pain, or sometimes they are having pain, and we want to exacerbate and agitate that pain so that we can come up with a solution. So this is once again selling the problem so that we can sell our solution. So I'm gonna kind of launch right into this and kind of tell you guys what I think. So like let's just yesterday both of my accounts that I did, or one count more than the other, actually was had a lot of issues and stuff with or did not have a lot of pain. And so um I'm gonna I'm gonna just start from the very beginning here. You want to hook, like the first step in sort of a future pacing is to hook them into thinking about some sort of future situation. So, how many of you have ever had someone that agreed with you logically, but still didn't move forward? Can anybody raise your hand if you've had those customers that agreed with you logically? Um, one of the things that logic does not sell, emotion sells. And so we've got to get them in emotional state. Logic is just how they justify the decision, but we have to get them in some sort of emotional state. And this goes for all the personalities, even those owl people that aren't very emotional. They're more logical from a logical standpoint because logic does not sell. So that's because logic doesn't move people. Emotion and vision do. So today we're going to learn how to put the homeowner in the future, living with the benefits before they even sign, living with the benefits or living with the consequences if they don't sign. So very easy way to do this. And everybody on this call should be doing this. And I guarantee you, if you're not doing this, you're probably not getting a good response and you're not getting very good feedback. So we want to drop them into their current pain. So sometimes people are experiencing pain. Most of Arizonans, we just came out of the summer, they're going to be experiencing pain. They've seen the rate increases. They know that we're using more energy. They know about these data centers. So imagine the summer, APS hits you with a $480 bill again, and you're wondering how much higher it's going to go. SRP, you can interchange this. Imagine, what was your high bill in the summer? $500. Wow. So imagine what's going to happen when that goes up double. What's your bill going to be? $1,000. So I understand $500 isn't really affecting you, but imagine paying $1,000 electric bill. Does that put you in a better position or a worse position? They're going to say worse. So how are you going to feel paying $1,000 electric bill? We want to get them in touch with the emotional sense, with the emotions. If you're going to elicit them into the future, a good way to do that is using that one specific word, imagine. How's that going to feel? Imagine paying a $1,000 electric bill. How's that going to make you feel? We want to get them to think about some of the pain that might experience. So in the initial onslaught, when you're setting the consultations, we want to make sure that we're putting them in an emotional state, not a logical state. If it was logical, we should go to every single door and say, hey, we're going to reduce your bill from 16 cents and we're going to reduce it down to 10 cents. Everybody should make the decision to go solar based on that fact, but people are not going to move solar based on logic. They make the decisions every single time based on emotion. So what we want to do is the first step is drop them into their current pain, whatever that pain is. Sometimes it's going to be the pain of the current utility bill. Sometimes it's going to be the pain of not having control. Sometimes it's going to be the pain of sitting there in their house with a thermostat at 80 degrees. Any one of those three are going to be the main pain motivators. So what we want to talk about, that we want to put them into the current state of things. This is why we're probing and asking questions at the door or at the kitchen table. What are you guys putting the thermostat at? If you're in the house and it's already 80 degrees, you know it's uncomfortable. You know that they're experiencing some sort of pain. So we want to exacerbate and agitate that by putting them in the future. Hey, when this bill doubles, what point are you going to put the thermostat at? Are you going to put it at 82, 83 if they're putting it at 80 degrees? What are you going to do to hedge yourself and to protect yourself? Because I know right now you're not experiencing a whole lot of pain at a $400 bill, but imagine that's $800. Whatever the bill is, put them in a state where they're thinking about the rising utility bill. We want to put them in an emotional state. By the way, if people are thinking about this and you've really done a good job on getting them to imagine paying a $800 bill or $1,000 bill or whatever the bill was, the double the bill, dude, people are going to be in some sort of pain. They're imagining what their response is going to be like when they're in that state. So now imagine the same month. Now this is where the solution comes in. Now imagine having the same month and still being locked in with that same utility bill that you had that was significantly less than where that current bill was. Imagine instead of paying $400 bills, let's say your bill is $250, but it's $250 in January, it's $250 in July. It's the exact same bill, but you know with certainty and control and freedom what that bill is going to be for the foreseeable future. Does that put you in a better position or a worse position? Dude, every single person is going to say it puts me in a better situation. We want to then tie them down into agreeing with our statements, right? Does this put you in a better position or worse position? Like, this is a very easy thing to do. Now imagine having the exact same bill, something that's significantly lower than what you're currently spending. It's the same bill month in and month out. You know with certainty what this bill is going to be. Would that put you guys in a better position? Would that relieve a little bit of burden about worrying about what's going to happen in the future? Would that relieve you? Imagine the neighbors complaining. Let's go into the future. Imagine all the neighbors are complaining about their utility bill, but you made a decision to go solar. And instead of having to pay this ridiculously high energy bill, you're in the same bill. You're like in your house with your AC at 74 degrees. Everyone else is putting it at 82, 83, trying to beat the utility bill. Does that put you in a better position or worse position somewhere in the future? Now, what we want to do at this point is we want to tie their identity to it. So that's the kind of homeowners who are smart enough to get ahead of the curve, protecting their family and their wallet while everyone else is still stuck complaining about SRP or APS, whichever one it is. So imagine that everyone else is complaining, but you made a decision to go solar. You protected your family, you protected your wallet. Would you agree that that puts you in a better position? Yes, I would. Okay, great. So as long as we kind of clear understanding that. So what we want to do is it's a hierarchy of criteria. So if people are hesitant to make a decision, and this is a separate training in itself, hierarchy of criteria is like what we want to do is talk about protecting their family, protecting the resources, protecting their wallet. We want to talk about something that shows them that making a solar decision is not just making a solar decision, but instead it's making a decision to protect themselves, protect their family, be good fiduciaries in their life. And then what we want to do is we want to anchor it with certainty. This isn't about panel. This isn't about solar. We're not selling solar. We're selling freedom. We're selling control and peace of mind. That's what you're really buying. You're buying the ability to use as much as you want, when you want, how you want, without being penalized. Imagine what that does to you. A lot of times, what I will say is people can't easily imagine themselves in some sort of predictable rate like this because you've gotten used and acclimated to being where you're at for so long. So what I want to tell you is that smart, really, really smart people that care about protecting their family and their resources always make this decision because they understand it's not about buying solar or about buying the energy. It's about buying their freedom back. It's about buying the protection for their families. It's about buying protection for their wallets. This ties into their identity and also hierarchy or criteria. People are going to be much more prone to make a decision when they know it's something of greater value. So if we're just talking about saving money, blah, 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 saving money is great. But when we talk about protecting their families, for them to act contrary to what the value proposition that we're giving is very hard to do. Because then if they say no, they're saying, I don't care about my family. I don't want to protect my family. I don't want to protect my financial future. I don't want to protect my wallet. I don't give a shit about that. What I care about is like getting you off my doorstep or you out of my house. So if you're going to ever be talking to somebody and you're talking about the current events or what's going on with the proposition, Josh, 1 sec here. So if you're going to be talking about any of these things, what we always want to do is put them into a state of pain and then also fear of missing out. We also want to lay the framework for the future and what's going to happen, the consequences of not going solar, and then also the benefits and stuff if they do. So there's a benefit, there's a consequence to both. One's positive, one's negative. And we really want to talk about that. We want to bring this home. People are going to be much more likely to make a decision based on looking at the future, especially if their current set of circumstances is not in the dire straits. If that current utility bill is not bothering them or they've acclimated to it. And by the way, most people, they understand, they give up, they resign, they don't surrender, they resign themselves to the fact that they don't have any control over the utility bill. It's just a fact that they have to pay this and there's no solution for them. So where they will become much more open and willing to look at this is when we can lay the framework for what's going to happen, and we lay the framework for the current pain that they're in and the future pain that they will experience by not making a decision to do this. So do you guys understand this? Is this pretty easy to understand?
Yeah.
Yep.
So on every single door, what we should always be implementing is something when we're telling somebody something, we always want to go fast forward into the current set of circumstances. We're going to do that by asking questions. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lay the framework, getting them asking additional questions to redirect their attention to where we want to go. All the time, every single time, what we want to do is put them in a state where they imagine not going solar, which is going to have consequences, and they imagine going solar, which will lead them to a series of benefits. And the main benefits aren't buying your energy for cheaper. It's for control. It's for freedom. It's for predictability. It's going to be for a better quality of life. These are, if you're looking at hierarchy or criteria, these are much more beneficial than just saving money. One of the things that we should say, and a word track that I use in the home or at the door, is listen, the savings is icing on the cake. The savings is going to get you interested into looking at this. But really why people make a decision to go solar is because they want control and freedom. This is the main reason why people make a decision to go solar, is because right now we currently don't have any control. We currently don't have any freedom. And so what we're able to do is deliver that easily and effortlessly by making a decision to do this. It's going to lock you in. It's going to give you the certainty, the control, and the freedom. You're going to use a lot more energy. You're going to be in a much better position. So let's fast forward. And one of the other ways that we're going to be able to do this is the word tracks that you could use is let's fast forward a year from now. What do you think your SRP APS bill is going to look like if nothing changes? You want to put this back on them and then get them to actually answer these questions. Well, it's going to go up. The majority of people are going to say it's going to go up unless they're just not cooperating. I mean, if you just put this in their shoes, you don't ever want to, by the way, too, this is always going to go back to question-based selling. If you're ever with me, if you ever knock doors with me, if you're ever in the home with me, a large part of what I do is asking questions to guide the customer's attention and direction. And so by asking quality questions, we're really going to get them to answer. Now, let's just say you ask, let's fast forward a year from now. What do you think your utility bill is going to be if nothing changes? This is a really good quality question to ask, because at this point, they're going to tell you it's going to go up. So I'm going to ask them, well, what do you plan on doing when this bill goes up? Oh, I don't have any plans right now. So what do you plan on doing when this bill is going to double? Because in 6 years it will double. What do you plan on doing? We want to get them to answer these questions and give us a good feedback and give us a good answer. If they say, well, I don't have an answer to this, or if they're like, well, I don't know what we're going to do, I say most people have a strategy. They're going to just put their thermostat a little bit higher. So most families in Arizona are doing this to kind of beat a bill. They're already doing it right now. And just to ask you a question, what do you guys keep in the thermostat in the summer? This will open it up for a line of questioning that you can do. If they say, hey, listen, I'm already putting my AC at 80 degrees. What do we know about these people? We know these people are willing to suffer to beat a bill. They want the control. People that are willing to suffer, they love the control and freedom, which is why they're putting their bill at a different level. So when you open your bill next summer, would you rather it say 480 and climbing, or a flat 185 that never changes? Which one would you rather see? This is a really good way to elicit a future pacing technique. When you open your bill next summer, would you rather it say at 480 and climbing, or would you rather it say 180 that never changes? Comfort and control. It's getting past summer, so people are finally, they're still relentless about putting their thermostat at some really ridiculously uncomfortable temperature. But imagine it's August and your house is set to 72 degrees all day. What's that feel like, knowing that the bill was locked in? What does that feel like? Can you even imagine putting it at the thermostat at the temperature you want? Now, if you've asked them some questions about the comfort, like, dude, and you know that they're putting it at 78 degrees, a lot of times people won't admit that this is uncomfortable. People will not admit this. They'll be like, oh no, like, I'm comfortable at 78. Nobody is comfortable at 78 degrees. Nobody. I don't care what they say. So picture the next power outage on your street and your lights are still on, and your lights are still on, and you're not in the dark with everyone else. What does that feel like? Imagine that, everyone else's power's out, they're complaining, but you had no clue that the power went out because your battery was able to give you guys the power and stuff that you needed, so you could still do all the stuff that you wanted to do. Like, dude, can you easily imagine that? I know we haven't had a lot of power outages. The other thing, I'm going to future pace people as well to get them to imagine, because right now people haven't experienced a whole lot of power outages. This is kind of problematic for us, because in areas where they have experienced this is a very easy deal. People will pay extra. They will pay more than what their utility bill is to kind of beat this. Because if you've ever been in your house with no power at 110 degrees outside, dude, you're miserable. You can't use your electronics, your internet doesn't work, like the AC doesn't work, you're not cooking if you have an electric range, you're not doing any of those things. So, but what we want to do is we want to get to people imagine. So we're like, hey, listen, up until recently, SRP or APS has been the most reliable grid in the country. But this is before the data centers would get online. I was reading an article 2 weeks ago that said the grid almost broke because there's 4 or 5 data centers that are online. This is before the rest of the 27 data centers get online. What do you think is going to happen when all of the data centers are online? Listen, we're getting rid of reliable energy sources, which is mainly coal, and we're doing these unreliable sources, wind, solar, natural gas, that now don't give us the ability and capacity to be able to ramp up the energy on high peak demands. It's only a matter of time until people are sitting in their house in the dark and they're super hot. So how are you going to feel knowing that you have a battery in your house, and instead of having to experience the power outages and the uncomfortability like everyone else, you are in a position that bypasses that because you've made a decision to have energy independence? Does that put you in a better position or worse position? Asking if this puts you in a better position or worse position, if they agree it puts them in a better position, then what we do, that's a tie down. They're openly admitting this and they're thinking about that line of reasoning and thinking. So the comfort and control is a big one. Like, dude, I could go endless. I can go on and on and on and on about this. In fact, I love it when people are in that position, because every single time that they're in that position, it gives me more control and more leverage. So, by the way, too, the only way that you're going to get somebody to make a decision to do this is with leverage. Leverage. What do I mean by leverage? I mean, they have to experience immense amount of pain by staying where they're at versus making a decision to go solar. When the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the fear of change, people necessitate a change, like every single time. So we want to also tie this into future pacing with their identity and legacy. So you can do this very easily. So if you get those retired folks, or if you get those people that aren't really concerned about their bill. So what we want to ask them is like, in 5 years from now, when your neighbors are still complaining about bills, what does it feel like knowing you were smart enough to lock this in back in 2025? The other thing right now with the tax credits ending, hey, when these tax credits ends and people are paying full price without any government subsidies, how are you going to feel knowing that you took advantage when the subsidies were high? When your kids ask why you went solar, what do you want to be able to tell them? That you stayed at the mercy of SRP, or you stepped up to protect your family? This is a great word track. If you could tie anything into their identity, and this is about wisdom, knowing their identity, knowing what type of person they are. The reason why we kind of discovered why we do training on people's personality charts is because each personality chart has their own assets of what and their identity. And so if you know what their identity is, what we want to do is we want to go hard in the paint and make sure that we tie the value proposition into their identity. The financial part of it, if you keep paying $300 to $400 a month to the utility company for the next 25 years, what does that add up to in your mind? So let's say that their average is $250. If you keep paying $250 and that's going to raise up to $400, what does that come out to over a 25-year period? We want them to think about this, especially if you're at the kitchen table. We want them to imagine this. We want them to think about this. There's a little scale on the side of the proposal tool that I'll actually go up, and I'll show them what their bill is going to look like in 20 years. And I'll say, imagine paying this. And oh, by the way, our software only lets us go up 4%, not the 8.6% that they're going up right now. So this is a huge part of the process with us being able to get them to imagine the financial implications of this. Now, picture redirecting that same money into something you own or something that now is reliable and predictable. How does that feel different? So imagine saying, hey, imagine the predictability. You're saving you guys $50 a month, but now that's $50 a month is compounded by the next 25 years. Where does that put you? How does that feel knowing that you save tens of thousands of dollars in that same period of time? And then the last and final one is certainty and predictability. Here's some additional. I'm going to send you guys the word tracks that I've come up with, the stuff that I've used. So what's it worth to you to know that your energy bill won't change over the next 25 years, no matter what APS decides to do, no matter what the utility company decides to do? What's that worth to you? Like, how much money would that be worth? How much peace of mind would you give it to know that every month you already know what your bill is going to be before it pops up? Like, we want them to, this puts them in a position of imagining themselves somewhere in the future. Each one of these statements, each one of these elicitation techniques is going to put them in a position where they're looking into the future. So what does it worth to you knowing that your bill is not going to change for the next 25 years? What is that worth it to you? How much peace of mind would you give to know that every month you already know what your bill is going to be, despite what the utility company does? So the other thing, what we're doing is we're anchoring in time using phrases like a year from now, next summer, 5 years down the road. We anchor people into the future by imagining and giving them dates and specifics. So make it sensory. Picture this, imagine hearing, what does it feel like? We want to list the submodalities. If you're really good, and I don't know how many people are doing this, this is really requires some skill, but understand what their main submodality is. We've done this before. Make it and then identity tie-in, link it to their identity. The value proposition has to be linked to their identity every single time. So, and by the way, too, if they have an identity, if they have a specific identity, but we don't, if they have a specific identity, once you know what their identity is, whether like they're a saver, whether they're a control person, like we want to be able to say some words like, hey, like other people like you that love control typically always make this decision to do this because they want the control over what that utility bill is going to be. People that really desire the comfort like you do, like you're putting your thermostat where you want, that's very high bills, always make the decision to do this because they're sick to death of being penalized. So I would consider these people very smart people. We want to prep these people up into a position that if they act contrary to it, they're going to be dumb or they're not going to care about some of the values and stuff, the hierarchy or criteria that they're going to be able to have at that point. So on this call today, you guys learned how to future pace. Everybody should be future pacing. If you're not future pacing and you're just talking about the current events and people aren't experiencing pain, you're never going to get these people. We want to get these people into a state where they're imagining these things. We want to agitate and aggravate the pain. And then what we want to do is come in with a solution and make sure that they're seeing a solution for what it is, and so that they can make a decision to do this.
I like future pacing about like the coal plant too. I like tying it back to like the Green Act and like trying to like I say this in my presentation all the time, like how it's not entirely like SRP's fault. Like they're quite literally losing control because of the Green Act and it starts charging like coal emission taxes. So now they can't even like profit on that coal plant anymore, and that's why they're decommissioning it. And then of course the data centers coming in too, then we're losing power. So it's like I like to tie into my story that SRP is also losing control.
That's good. So I love to tie into like the current events, but I also like to tie these things back into how it's going to affect them.
That's what I segue into, because like then I talk about the fact of like, okay, well now they're not going to have the coal plant later in the future, and we saw like what APS did now is where they're utilizing nuclear with a 14% increase, and like that's where we're going to be heading after we're paying off these solar farms. And then I just kind of like tie into how it's just going to get way worse and worse and worse, and then before you know it, we're just going to end up like our neighbor California. So like not painting SRP as like this massive like villain. Like obviously I know like we do that, but then also kind of like saying in a way where I'm not like just bashing on them, but I'm also like it's not even SRP's fault at the end of the day. Like they're literally are losing control. They can't even profit on that coal plant. And now when subsidies come for nuclear and we lose and we can't do solar anymore come January, that's when like nuclear hits and then we're just going to lose full control.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a million ways that I'm going to
Yeah.
face. Those are really good. The other thing you can talk about is like, hey, listen, all the incentives for solar are being taken, they're given back into nuclear. The problem with nuclear is that nuclear takes about $16 billion to build a nuclear plant. It takes about 10 years. So it's not something that they could just ramp up and do very quickly. It's something they need approvals for, and then it takes forever. And at that $16 billion, who do you think pays for that?
The homeowner.
Yeah, they're going to say we do. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. So do you want to pay for them to build out that infrastructure in their own power plant, or do you want to have your own personal power plant that gives you energy independence and no reliance on the grid? Which position do you want to be in?
Full control. I use that all the time. I love that question where I'm just like who do you think's gonna pay for that? And they're like, us.
Everybody's going to say us. Nobody's going to say, oh, I don't know, somebody else.
Yeah.
No, everybody says us. So now that's a future pacing technique in itself. Who do you think's going to pay for that? Going
Yeah.
to. That's in the future. Going to. So any of these, the linguistic model is like if you're going to imagine in 5 years from now, all are going to elicit a response that's going to put them somewhere in the future and experiencing whatever they're going to experience. So like any way that you guys can do this, and I would be intentional about being able to do this. Sometimes it just comes automatic to me because I've been doing it for so long. In the door-to-door space, this is an absolute necessity to be able to put them in sort of a future experience where they're going to experiencing pain or they're going to experiencing some consequence of not making or staying where they're at. There has to be some sort of greater pain than making a decision to go solar. If the pain is not greater than the fear of change, nobody's going to make a decision to go solar. So agitating and exacerbating the pain is a really good way, but also agitating and exacerbating the benefits and stuff is going to be a very important part of the equation as well. We want them thinking about the pain, but we want them thinking about the benefits and stuff when they make a decision to go solar. If you aren't doing this, it's going to be very hard. If you're talking about current events and you're future pacing the current events, but you're not tying this into the benefits to customer, this is also going to be a very hard one. So you can talk about all the current events and what's happening, and they're taking solar tax credits away. But until you tie that into, how that affects the customer and what that's going to do for them, like people are not going to buy into it because they think it's happening to somebody else. Now, what we want to do is we want to make that future pacing. If we're talking about current events, we want to make that personal. We're like, who's going to pay for that? How are you going to feel when the bill doubles because they have to build a new power plant? How are you going to feel when the power's out? Like this is going to happen. This is absolute certainty. We know for a fact this is going to happen. So like knowing that and understanding this, what we have to do is future pace and then tie this in to whatever the customer situation is. Why this affects you. Why, if you're talking about some of these current events, which everybody should be talking about current events, everybody should know current events and what's happening. I know everybody knows about the coal plant and what they're going to do. These are this is factual data, and we have to somehow tie this back into the customer. So let's open it up. Who has some questions about the future pacing technique? Jeremy's the
Luke,
only
I got
participant.
I got a question about you said it takes 12 years for the power plant to be built.
A nuclear plant, yeah.
Okay.
10 years.
Okay.
And it's a whole heck of a lot of money, dude. It's a lot of money.
You said 16 billion, correct?
Yep. Even if the government's incentivizing these power plant, the nuclear, which I don't know the percentages. I know that they're incentivizing nuclear, but dude, there's not enough incentives to pay for the entire thing. It's an impossibility. So like people should be concerned. So, hey, I'm just here to give you some information kind of about what's going on and why the neighbors are freaking out. So, SRP just closed the biggest coal plant in the nation. They don't have enough energy. There's a ton of data centers being built. And so, why the neighbors are freaking out is because they understand that they had a $500 million increase, and they looked at this and they understand that bill is going to double in 5 years. People are freaking out because they don't know how they're going to pay the utility bill and put food on the table. You might not be in that position, but how are you going to feel when your bills double in 5 years? Do you have any strategies? Do you have any strategies on how you're going to beat the utility bill when it doubles in 5 years? What's your current state of things? Most people haven't even thought about it, except for those people that are on fixed incomes. These people are freaking out. So people like yourself that are working class people typically aren't thinking about this because the pain's not there. But if you can easily imagine yourself in 5 years paying a double bill, like, dude, people should freak out. Unfortunately, this isn't high on their agenda. Everybody's going on with life. And so, but if that bill is $500, what's your strategy to kind of beat that bill? I don't have a strategy. Oh, okay. I understand. Let me tell you about this new energy program that we have. So right now there's this, and then you just launch into what your proposition is. So, hey, this is really important. I got to talk to you real fast. The neighbors have been freaking out. They got the insert from SRP. They're doubling the bill. They're closing the biggest coal plant in the nation, and they're building 27 different data centers here in Arizona. So people that are really aware of this energy crisis, they're freaking out. A lot of times people don't even know what's happening because people get so busy living their lives that they forget about this. But don't worry, this is my profession. I'm very well aware of what's going on. So some of the neighbors have been freaking out. The neighbors that are on fixed incomes, they're worried about how they're going to pay these additional bills. So they're already putting their AC at 80 degrees. They're thinking they're going to have to put their strategies to put it at 84 or 85, or just leave their house during the hot part of the day so they don't have to use their AC. Would one of those strategies be appropriate for you? Would you ever do that? Okay, good. Now, immediately, what you've done is you've launched into what the problem is, and now that what we do is we're going to come to the solution. So some of the neighbors that were freaking out about this made a decision to look at this new energy program, where it's have a drastic reduction in what your current bill looks like. And if you have a drastic reduction, what it also does is give you certainty. You know with certainty what this bill is going to be like for the foreseeable future, because it allows you guys to be energy independent. How we do that is this. How we do that is we're going to give you a solar system paired with a battery. By the way, we're not here to sell you solar. We're here to be the new utility company. We're about 30 to 40% less, which is why people are making a decision to do this. I understand that you might or might not have pain because you're not aware of what's going on. But I think if you knew what I knew, you would make a decision to at least look at the energy program. Hey, I'm not going to work with you if we don't save you 30%. I'm not going to work with you if there's any out-of-pocket expense. The reason why this looks so good is we're following the tells of the Inflation Reduction Act. So the government's paying for 55% of your solar. We own the solar. We sell you the energy back for a significant amount less than what your current utility bill is. But the best part about this is in 5 years, when everybody's bills double, you know with certainty what your bill is going to be. I just did future pace, current set of circumstance, agitate the pain, lace it with benefits.
Look, when you're saying we're not here to sell you solar and just become a utility company, and then when you jump into your solar, would that trigger their switch about your solar and like we're not here to sell you anything?
I said, well, I'll say I want to give them ownership words. So I'm going to say your solar, your personal power plant, your energy independence. You want to give them ownership words so they start taking possession of this and imagine themselves having the solar system. I've never had a single person pick up on this.
Okay.
So the part of the technique is the linguistic model is making sure that people like they take ownership for these. Even I know we own it. I know we guarantee it. I know that it's ours, but I'm talking about your power plant, your solar system. I love to use your power plant. That's a very good linguistic model. They're not looking at a solar if you say your power plant. The other thing that you can say is like we're a new energy company. We put a power plant on your rooftop and we store it with a battery. We make you guys energy independent, so you'll never have to worry about these price increases ever again. Like any one of these things. And by the way, too, is like you want to make sure that you're always giving them ownership words. We own this. We're not here to sell you solar. We own the solar. We're selling you the energy we're selling you the energy back at a significant deficit compared to where you're currently at. But I mean, a lot of times it's interchangeable. I don't know if I'd ever use like we buy the solar and then I'd launch into your power plant. Usually, it's going to be somewhere along inside the context of the close or the set. So, anybody have any questions?
No.
I guess everybody's an expert.
Everybody's quiet today. What's going on?
Fucking, dude, you guys are.
Trying to think of a question, but
Maybe you guys all got it. Maybe I just did such a good job on training. You guys understand it. Listen,
Well,
I have the expectation that everybody on the call here today will be able to implement everything that this is very easy stuff. This is not complex. It's very easy to understand. It's very easy to future pace these people. It's very easy to put these people in an emotional state. Remember that if the one thing you learned on here is just making sure that you put these people in some sort of an emotional state. You're going to do this always by the future. It's never about the set. It's never going to be in the present moment where people will be in an emotional state. It's always going to be about somewhere in the far off future. So the way that you're going to elicit some emotional state is because people are thinking about how they're going to feel when such and such happens. They're going to think about how they're going to feel when the bill goes up. They're going to think about how they're going to feel um, when they have absolute certainty and reliability with their solar system. These are the things that the people are going to feel, and we
Look,
want them in the emotional state.
I have one. Let's say when I work in an area when there's like houses far apart a little bit, and when you mention something like PPA or we're a new utility company, they're like, I'd rather own it and this that. So when I jump into like what's the reason for that you want to own the system and spending that whatever 50, 60, $80,000. The thing that I got, if I go solar, I would rather own it. But then I jump into the warranties, like, hey, I understand where you're coming from, but the only thing is here, when you buy the system, yes, you get the panel warranty, manufacturer warranty, 25 years, but on the batteries, it's only 10-year warranty. With what we're doing, we're giving you a 25-year warranty, bumper to bumper. Then you don't have to take out the loan and putting a lien on your house.
You're giving way too much information, dude. Like you want it? Okay, why? Oh, I just want to blah blah blah. Okay, good. Well, we have that program as well. Hey, any option you choose is going to be better than where you're at. So all we're trying to do is we run an energy report. We come back and show you what the report looks like. Listen, I've seen people do this because they want energy independence. People want to avoid these price increases that are happening. You probably noticed this. You might or might not have noticed this. And people want to be able to have a better quality of life. Listen, this isn't about you buying solar. This is about you having the ability, capacity to have more control, more freedom, more certainty, and a better quality of life. That's why people make the decision to do this. By the way, we're not here to sell, we're not selling solar. That's exactly what we're giving. We're actually giving control, freedom, and certainty and better quality of life. And everybody wants more of those. So you can't go to a single person and say, hey, do you want less control? They'd say no. Do you want less certainty? They'd say no. Do you want a worse quality of life? They'd say no. So the alternative is obviously true. And so that's what we're actually doing. So whatever option that you want, we'll present both those. We have every option that you'd ever ask for, and we'll show you what each one looks like. And by the way, this isn't a sales call. This isn't a sales presentation. This is an educational process. We're just going to tell you about kind of how the program works. We're going to tell you about, exactly why people are doing this, and we're going to see if it's a good fit. By the way, I'm not going to work with you if we can't save you 30%. I'm also not going to work with you if there's any out-of-pocket expense for you. So the reason why you would want to do this is because it's going to directly impact your pocketbook. It's going to allow you to set up a financial fence around you and your family and your pocketbook. It allows you to protect your kids, protect your legacy. This is why people make a decision to do this. So all we're asking is that we run this energy report, see if you qualify, then we come back and we show you how it looks. And we have every option that you could ever imagine. So we'll show you all those. Any option you choose is going to put you in a better position than where you're at. People are freaking out, not just because of the rising utility bills. They're freaking out knowing that there's not going to be enough energy to supply all of Arizona families' households. There's too many data centers, there's too much energy being consumed, and there's not enough infrastructure that's being laid out, and there's not enough power plants to support all the energy needs of Arizona. That's why people are looking into this. So you want to be able to do this because obviously you protect your family, right? Obviously, your highest concern is probably just protecting your family, protecting your household. The second one is probably protecting your pocketbook. You want to make sure that you don't have this massive leak in your finances. And the third one, if we can give you and your family a little bit more better quality of life, typically people enjoy that as well. We'll talk about that when we come back. So I'm just assuming that you want to protect your family, right? Yes. Okay. People that have that duty of protecting their family, they love this option because it gives them the utmost level of protection over their family.
Look, I have another one. I mean, lately I've been running into the new builds, and let's say people are from California or different states, whatever, right? And they've been in the house, of course, since May, June, so they have 2 months of the 3 months of utility bills. I didn't have an issue before setting them up, but now it's kind of like they're new to Arizona, and they're like, yeah, we like solar, but we want to wait till we see like a full year of usage. Of course, I overcome that. That hey, you're not the only one in here. So we run to a lot of customers like you that move in a house. So what we do, we have software that uses like close by area, 1,000 houses that we match, right? So when we have a couple months of usage, we just put that in a software and it gives us 10 plus 10 minus dollars of the average. So we know what your bill would be, not even having that data, right? So is there a way to kind of make it a little bit more effective?
Yeah. Well, what you said, that's a good word track. And in fact, I've used that numerous times. It's all about the delivery of it. So, but that's a good word track. But what I'm going to say is I'm going to really, why do you think they're saying that? What's layers deep behind why they're saying that?
Well, the thing is, what I understood is just they move in, they had some solar guys that don't want to get scammed, and they just want to wait and see what their full year of usage will be.
Yeah. So, and I just kind of got do this with you right now. So, what I hear you saying is that you want to see what the bills are going to be before you're able to make a solar decision, so that you know you're making the right decision with the right size system. Is that's probably why you're wanting?
Yes.
Okay, fully understand that. Everybody feels the same way. We have a very accurate reporting software system, but here's the problem that we're experiencing right now is these tax credits are ending at the end of the year. So you could certainly wait until you have a full years of usage, but would you rather have to pay full price, or would you rather take advantage of the government subsidies where they're at today? Everybody is lining up and rushing to take advantage of this before the subsidies going away, because after the first of the year, it's going to be full price solar system. And by the way, it's going to be an impossibility to save money from year one. So what we're doing is we have a software system. We'll put it into our system and we'll see what those bills are going to be. Also, we've done the same model house numerous times. This is not a new model of house. In fact, we've done other models of houses. This is a Lennar home. I've done this exact same home numerous times, and they have years and years worth of bills. And so we're going to run a report, a very accurate reporting software to see where this bill's at. But at the end of the day, it's your decision to make. But here, by the way, even if we grossly negligently undersize your solar system, would you rather buy 60% of your energy at 50% less, or would you rather pay full price energy all the time? Does that put you in a better position or worse position, even if we grossly and negligently undersize your system?
Well, it'll put me in a better position, but I don't know. I heard some stories about the SRP plan, and it's not really SRP is not really solar doesn't really benefit in SRP because of their plans that they have.
Well, you're exactly right. And that's an accurate statement, which is why we're not going to be on their energy plan, because this is a solar system paired with a battery source. You're no longer going to be using the utility company. So we put you in a much better position because we're going to give you the energy independence. Listen, I know that you want this, and I know that your biggest concern is making sure that you have accurate data so that the system's designed accurately. At the end of the day, we're going to design the system based on years and years of experience, plus a bunch of data that we're pulling from, so that we can come and show you this. We're not trying to sell you today. We have to run a report. I'm not going to work with you if I can't save you 30%, and I'm not going to work with you if there's any out of pocket. I think for most customers out here, because they're running to get solar right now before these tax credits end, that you will, if you wait, you certainly could wait. I'm not telling you not to wait. You certainly could, but by that time you're going to pay full price. So it's going to be an impossibility for you to save money. Yeah, you'll have all the data, but you won't be saving money because all of the tax credits are being pulled and they're being given back to the utility companies to build nuclear plants. So for someone that wants the accurate data, 100%, I know that what you want, but we're talking about hypotheticals. Let's deal with some facts. These tax credits are ending. People are freaking out. People are rushing in droves to take advantage of this. And what my job is to do is to run a report to see if you qualify for these savings. Regardless of that, we understand your concerns. Everybody has these concerns. My main business is doing new builds. So that's all I do. And I have countless amount of bills that have net negative balances on new builds that we accurately reported when we first got there with only a few months data. So we're going to run this bill and I'm going to see if you qualify. And then we're going to come back. I have tomorrow or the next day. Which day works best for you?
Okay. I have another one. Let's say if people are Trey, it's my turn. You were quiet, so. If let's say people are all out of state, different state, whatever, and they moved on here in here, and they don't really have experience with solar, and let's say, do you just ask questions and transition into appointment, or like you want to answer the questions to make sure it's solid, and transition to the appointment, and we're gonna bring that information with us when we come back if the house qualifies, and then what's the best day to come back and bring the report?
So listen, I think probably part of the issue that you're getting into is your information overloading. And people will get emotionally fatigued by all the information you give them. So what we want to keep it is very simple and sweet. Hey, listen, I understand you have a lot of questions because you don't really know how solar works, but I'm going to break it down to you as easy as it possibly can get. I'm going to give you a gas analogy. You're currently spending $4 for a gallon of gas. Going solar is now $2 a gallon of gas. Let's just say a hypothetical that you went to the gas station and you went to the fuel pump and you had a $4 option or a $2 option for the same octane. Which fuel would you buy? $2, right?
A cheaper one, yeah.
$2. I mean, there's no reason we spend four. That's exactly what this is like. What we're going to do is we're going to run a report. And by the way, this is not a sales call. We're not sending a sales guy. We're sending an engineer, and he's going to educate you on exactly what this is going to look like. And at the end of the day, this is your decision to make. If you want to continue to spend the $4 a gallon of gas, you can certainly do that. But we're going to show you a $2 option. And I'm going to warn you right now, it looks too good to be true. But if you follow the math always makes sense. I'm not asking you to trust me now. Trust the math equation. It's a simple subtraction method. We're going from here and you're going all the way down here. That's as easy as it possibly can get. Never before have we been able to deliver this type of program. This is compliments of the US government and the Inflation Reduction Act, where the government's going to pay us 55% to put this on your roof, which allows you to reap the benefits of having your own personal power plant on your rooftop with sometimes 30, 40, 50% less energy costs. That's why this is benefit to you. And by the way, too, let me just tell you why people make a decision to go solar. It isn't about the money. It's really about the control, the freedom, the certainty, and the better quality of life. I understand you just moved here and you moved here from Texas. Listen, energy bills in Arizona are the highest in the country because we use more energy than anyone else. So this program really benefits people that want control. They want certainty. They want freedom, and they want a better quality of life. And when we come back, we're going to show you exactly what this looks like. So go grab the bill for me, and then I'm going to look at my schedule because I have a Saturday, I have a Monday. So go grab the bill for me real fast so we can run this report.
I moved in 3 weeks ago. I don't even have a first bill.
So no first bill. Okay. I just
No.
did one that didn't even have a singular bill yet, and we figured it out and we got it right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this off the square footage of your home. How big is your home?
It's 3,200.
3,200. How many ACs do you have?
2 AC.
And do you have gas, or do you use all electric?
Yeah, I have gas, just the stove and dryer.
And probably the hot water heater, I'm assuming too, right?
Yeah, but it is. It's instant hotter one.
And then how big's your family? How many kids do you
I
guys
have 4 kids.
Okay, so there's a
Fifth
family.
one is on the way.
Okay, so you're gonna have family 7. Okay, that's a big family. Congratulations, man. High five. Human evolution success story. Big families. Big family.
Amy's freaking out.
Yeah. People that have big families like this absolutely love this program because here, this isn't about just control and freedom for you. This is about protecting your family for the foreseeable future. And I imagine having that many kids, your role is probably the protector, right?
Yeah.
So what we see is that people that understand that they can set up a financial protection fence around their family always make the decision to do this. It's just the next right thing to do because left unchecked, this utility bill is going to double in less than 5 years. And that usually puts families in a worse position. So what we find is that people know that they can lock something in and have absolute certainty and predictability with a new utility bill, always make the decision to do this. And I imagine with you, a family and a big family and one on the way and probably a couple more here in the future, you want to protect your family. This is probably pretty high up on your list of to-dos, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why we're going to come back. I have morning or afternoon. Which time works better for you, boss?
Mornings were better.
Okay, so I have a 10 a.m. We'll be here at 10 a.m. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to come back with a report. I'm going to come back. First, we're going to send this back to the engineers on all those questions I asked you. to get an accurate assessment about what your average utility bill is going to be. This is going to be within $5 to $6 of what your bill is going to be. It's always that accurate. So I'm going to run that here. The only way I'm not going to work with you if the report comes back and I can't save you money from day one. Number two is I'm not going to come back here if the report comes back and it's going to cost you any out-of-pocket expense for you guys. Sometimes that happens. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I'm going to say this. No news is good news. If you don't hear from me, I'm going to show up at 10 a.m. I'm going to send you my digital rep card. If something pops up in the next 24 hours, shoot me a text and let me know so that we can reschedule this, so that we can get you in, so that you don't have to miss out on some of these deadlines. Is that fair to do?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Done. Here's the other thing. When you overcome a objection, always transition out. If you answered it very effectively, what I just did, leave. Do not stay there and see if they got it. Like, you answered the objection, you transition out. Don't stall. Continue to push forward. As long as you answered the objection, you gave them a good reason or good reason to get out of it. Move out of it. Don't stay there. If you stay there, they're gonna be like, oh, well, I don't believe them, or I'm not taking this. But if you answer the objection, then you move, and then you transition out. Always transition out after you've answered the objection.
What I noticed is I'm getting a little stuck, and I keep repeating it until I feel like they got it right, and then I transition. So that's where I've been getting stuck a little bit.
And if you answer the objection and you give them irrefutable proof and you've answered it in a good way, then you just leave. Then you get out of that, and you keep pushing.
Just transition.
And you keep and then you transition out. But listen, hey, before we get ahead of ourselves, answer the objection. You can ask a question, tell them the process. You can say, like, hey, we can do a pullback. Any one of those things are going to work to get out of that objection, but don't stall on the objection and not transition out, because they'll keep going back to the objection. If you answer the objection fully, you transition out and you keep pushing the sell forward. Like, every single time, you got to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Like, every single time, keep pushing the close. Keep going forward. Keep moving forward. Answer the objection and move out of it. Don't stall. If you stall and you keep going back to it and repeating yourself, like, you're making too much attention to that, and then they start questioning it. But if you answer the objection appropriately, get the fuck out of there. Like a deal I had yesterday, this guy was like really weird. He was a super weirdo guy. It was so cringy, dude. It was so cringy. I mean, this was so cringy, just sitting there in absolute silence, dude. This was so uncomfortable. And he's asking me, like, yeah,
Was his partner there?
No, it was just some gay dude, man. I didn't know he's gay either. So weird. This guy was weird. Like,
was that Joe's deal?
yeah, this guy was a weirdo, dude. Like,
yeah, you didn't put it in the notes. You put it in there too.
I know she has got all of the appointments that she sets. They're all gay people, dude. It's weird. So, anyways, the guy was like, he told me, he's like, well, can you send that over to me? Can you send that over to me? I've got another appointment next week that I meet with somebody. Like, absolutely, we're going to send you everything. He's like, I want to research the company. I said, absolutely, we're going to send you all the information so you can research us, make sure you do diligence, and make sure that you can make a good decision. I'm assuming that's why you want to look at this. And plus, you got an appointment coming next week, so you want to make sure you get the best deal possible, right? He's like, yes. I said, I understand that 100%. We're going to send you everything. But here's the thing I'm going to ask you to do, because we're on such short deadlines and because we need to do this so that we don't miss out on these tax credits, we're going to start the process today. I'm going to give you all the time in the world to make a decision, even after you meet with these guys. If you don't want to do this after you meet with these guys, shoot me a thumbs down emoji, and then you guys can get out of it. But we're going to start the process today. So we're going to have to do the credit check. We're going to have to do a homeowner's deed check, and then we're going to have to start the paperwork so that we can start the process, so that we can ensure that we can take advantages before the actual tax credits end. So is this the correct spelling of your name? Kirk Lambeaux, Lambous. That's the correct spelling? Okay, great. And your phone number is 623-236-4444. Okay, got it? And this is your email. Okay, what's your date of birth? Dude, you see how I did that? I didn't fucking stall there. If I would have stalled and be like, see if he was going to do it, fucking guy's not going to do it. He's going to give me the same bullshit objection. I'm like, I transitioned. I assumed the sell. I answered the objection. I gave him a way out of it. And so now you got to assume the sell. And by the way, this is really uncomfortable for me to do. There wasn't a whole lot of feedback I got from this guy. One of the few times, most of the time, I'm really comfortable getting uncomfortable, but yesterday was fucking hard, dude. This was hard. This is hard. But I got out of it. I answered the objection. I transitioned out and he fucking signed the contract. He read every single word of the contract, still signed it. He still signed it. He saw 2 cancellations. He's like, it says it has 10 days there. I was like, yeah, but my verbal promise precedes that. He's like, okay. And then he read it again. He's like, why does it say this? I said, that's just part of the contract. I was like, but by the way, that verbal promise that I gave you that's right there in writing, that's going to precede that. But by the way, even if I wouldn't have given you that, no, we've never charged anybody for getting out of this. We're not going to twist your arm to go solar. Like he read everything in the contract. His biggest concern was what happens if he moves. He doesn't want to be stuck with the house. Did I fucking close this guy? And this was a badass close. It was not easy to close because you barely gave me any feedback. But literally, if I would have stalled there, because I've done this before, if I would have been like answered the objection and then not asked him the questions about his stuff, like I wouldn't have got that deal. And by the way, sometimes you answer the objection, you start pushing your way through, and people will stop you. People will stop you, and then you got to return and go back to building value and then transition out again. Always be transitioning out. If you've answered the objection, get out of there. Redirect, reframe, redirect, and get them into a different position. Don't stay in the objection because they'll keep going back to it. This is a huge lesson for you guys. I mean, out of all this training, this is probably the biggest part. If you've answered the objection, you keep transitioning out. Don't stall there, move on. So whatever the objection is, you answer it and then you move on. Then you redirect, you reframe, redirect, and get them into a position where going down into the finish line, which is signing the contract or making the consultation. Don't ever stall there. Okay, we're out of time.
Perfect.
Love you guys. Let's make it. We got today and tomorrow, man. Let's finish strong.
Let's go.